Today we'd like to take a few minutes and look at Syntervision's Oasis synthetic transaction monitoring capabilities. If you'll take a look here on the screen, what you'll see is that is the response time of a multi-step transaction that is taking place for the server ESM USIN H029. This performance graph is just one of the standard graphs that we have within the Oasis reporting interface. When you look at this interface, the first thing you see are that there are actually two metrics that we are reporting. The first one is the success of the poll, which is in blue, and then the second one is the response time. Each of these can be turned off and on individually. On the left-hand side of the screen, we see the response time in milliseconds, and it's in K. And then we see our timestamps along the bottom. This is defaulting to 24 hours. At any point, you can change your time by either putting in a custom time frame or by selecting one of the icons here at the bottom, like for 1 week, for example, and it will change its that frame. When I look at this transaction, this is depicting the overall response of the multi-step transaction that we're interested in looking at. When I look here, I can see that this is actually being simulated using the Google Chrome browser. We can select any of the browsers to replay a transaction, and this one is just using Google. When we look up here for the server ESM USIN H029, I can see that we have multiple transactions that we're actually testing for, and I can select a different one by just clicking on it from the pull down. You will also see that this one is being simulated using the IE9 browser. So when I take a look at this this transaction, I can see that it is performing. It looks pretty standard all the way across the day. If you see a few blips right here, and I see one anomaly, it looks like right here in the middle. At any point when you're looking across here, you can be able to drill into the transaction to get more detail. For example, let's say that I'm interested in taking a look at what's going on here. I can highlight in more detail and zoom into the area just like I can with any of the performance graphs by using my mouse, holding it down and hovering over an area which will then drill into it. You can then double click on any data point and it will bring up the steps of the transaction that you are recording. And so in this example, what I am seeing is that there are actually 9 steps to this transaction. Here's the response times of each one of these steps at that point in time, and at the bottom I can see the overall performance of the transaction. When I'm looking down through here, I see that there's like a 6 second, a 4, and a 4.99. At any point, if I'm interested in seeing what was taking place during that time, I can click on the magnifying glass and it will pop up the code for that, just like I could here for the one that's saying 6.96. So if we go back to our graph here and we look across here where everything is running as we would expect, and then all of a sudden I see this jump up to 167 seconds, I can double click on that point and I immediately see where there's 3 steps of the transaction that have increased in speed. And so at any point in there, then what I would do is I would look down through here for the ones that I'm interested in, and then I'd be able to click on that and be able to look at the code of what's actually taking place. Given that there's only one blip like this, more than likely this is an anomaly, but that would be the methodology for taking a look at it. If you'll notice also here is that we start here by looking at the overall transaction. We also have the capability to focus in on the individual transaction. So by selecting the Steps tab, I can then have access to all 9 of the individual steps that we're running and look at them just by themselves over that period of time. So by doing the pull down and selecting one of these steps, I can then look at the overall performance of that individual portion of the transaction independently of the entire transaction that we're interested in. I appreciate your time. Thank you.